Welcome back, guys. Today we'll be talking about what happened in the stock market today. We'll be talking about two main things. One being the riots that happened in DC today, one of the most unique things that's ever happened in US history. And the secondary thing that we'll be talking about today is US's comments on the delisting of major Chinese companies, which I also think is a pretty big deal. First, let's talk about what happened today at DC. So if y'all don't know, Trump just had a rally near the DC area, and within 10 to 20 minutes, Trump supporters came in and rushed the U.S. Capitol. And the reason why that's so significant, as you can look at the pictures, is that it poses a very very big safety risk for the members inside of it, especially today, as there was a vote today. There was a House of Representatives, and Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Mike Pence was there deliberating whether or not the elections were rigged state by state. So they were at the state of Arizona when this happened. They were talking about how Arizona was this and that about the elections, how the elections were unfair, and then the cameras changed, not within the room but outside. News stations started broadcasting that there were massive riots. They actually got inside of various, office members. Luckily, no one was hurt in terms of the House of Representatives, but there were a couple people shot. Of course, with a 5,000 plus riot audience, things are not really that good. So this is Nancy Pelosi's office right here, and then if you can see the note right here, it says, "We will not back down." And this is actually the first time in history of the United States the U.S. Capitol has been mobbed like this. Like they've actually reached these levels. As you can see, people taking major things away from the from the stands, and these were, the House chamber right here. These were all the delegates right there, just waiting. They're recording their phones just to show what's happening. People are scared of their lives. And actually, I was actually looking at the camera inside when it was happening live. There were some secret service people inside the room, and there was a door. Right, there was a door which had a cabinet and a couple desks to avoid the people from coming in. But if someone broke in, there was around 20 to 25 handguns just pointed towards the door. So that was a shoot on sight order. So fortunately, that didn't happen. If that would happen, that would have been a really, really mass casualty type event. So here's a man sitting inside Nancy Pelosi's office, and then these areas are restricted, for the general public. And then they just crush this. They're just climbing walls. Seats are completely empty, and this is where Nancy Pelosi was, and Vice President Vice President Mike Pence. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, this was the picture I was talking about. This is just from one angle. As you see, the protesters are right over there, and then you have these gunmen, drawing their weapons just in case, they do come in. So people had to face down when the National Guard did come in. So National Guard was first denied to come to the Capitol by the Defense Department, but eventually the saga got pretty bad. So as you see, there's a breaking of barriers. So I want to talk about what this means for stocks in general in terms of the riots, because if you looked at the S&P today, it didn't really move too much. So I want to discuss the further implications of this and whether or not this can be an opportunity for us to buy the dip. So the market's opened a little bit down today. When it opened, it was down around 0.5% and then proceeded to rocket up to almost all-time highs. Then around 1 o'clock Central Time, we had the news about the riots, and the United States put Alibaba, Tencent, JD, and Neo on delisting watch that they'll consider it. So yeah, so we didn't actually fall too much, and we were actually really positive today. It did fall from the 1.5 mark to zero point 0.6, but that's not big enough of a drop to warrant to buy more shares. So what I really want to talk about today is two things about the riot in terms of the riots. So do I think the riots can play a have a long-term effect on S&P? No. Do I think it's going to be a month? No. I think whatever is going to happen is going to happen the next couple of days. But I think that the S&P is reacting correctly, right? There's no one's gotten hurt. Nancy Pelosi is still okay. All the House members are okay. But this does raise a pretty important question about unrest and if people are going to trust the United States, which I think they will. But this does raise a very important question: is the U.S. as safe as everyone thinks it is? Right? If you ask, other countries to like, oh, what's the most dominant or what's the safest country? They're like, oh, the United States or Europe or something like that. But we are having a little bit of civil unrest, right? The problem is the guy in power right now is still the president, right? The president, Mr. Trump. He is still dictating these are his supporters. I'm not saying Trump has done this, but Trump did give a call of action. We should stand up. We should do this, but he should a little bit control the reins and make sure things are back to normal. Having protests are good, but having peaceful protests are even better. And I think the S&P will go back up. I don't think it's gonna crash to like 320 or anywhere near the March lows. There is no reason to. But what I'm also really concerned about is what happened in Georgia. The Senate, if there's a blue sweep, then I believe the House, the Congress, and the president are all Democratic. And if that happens, some of these tax laws may be, a little bit not good for the stock market. I think if that happens, if because one governor is already Democratic, but if the other one turns Democratic as well, I expect around a 5 to 10% correction in the S&P. I would say it would probably go back to that 350 level. I would say 350. I wouldn't say a huge drop is imminent, but at 350 at least would make sense in my opinion. If Democrats control everything, because that means they can pass laws much easier than at the current state. And of course, the stock market always likes when things are in a gridlock, so you can't have mass change. So another news event that came out today around 2 o'clock was that U.S. was thinking about delisting Alibaba, Tencent, JD, Neo, and the other big market cap Chinese companies. And I thought that was kind of interesting because this is the second time in U.S. history where the U.S. government has thought about delisting such big Chinese companies, and you have to keep in mind these are very very big companies. Tencent is $700 billion in market cap. Alibaba is near 550. JD is above 100. Neo is approaching 50. So these are big big companies, and overall, the top two companies in the Chinese sector are worth 1.3 trillion, which is a lot of money. So essentially, if they were to delist most of these Chinese companies, it would eradicate around, I believe, 7% of the total market cap from the stock exchange. So basically, 7% of total market cap would be dissipated if they decided to delist in the NYSE or NASDAQ. And one other thing that just happened was that it is confirmed that the two seats of Georgia for senator are both Democratic. So we have a full blue sweep. So the Democrats control all three places. So that's kind of interesting. And what's even more interesting is that the S&P went up on that news. It's up around 0.6%. But we'll see tomorrow what happens. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a historical event, historical time. Let's see closer to January 20th, the time of the inauguration, if something else happens. Thank you for watching and have a good day.